Listen closely for a moment. There comes a point when you get tired of watching your own potential drift by. A point when you realize discipline isn't punishment. It's the doorway to the life you keep imagining. Today, I want to talk to the part of you that knows it's time to rise. I'm standing here to remind you of something you may have forgotten. Your life does not change by accident. It changes the moment you take ownership of your direction. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about deciding that your future matters more than your excuses. Many people wait for motivation. They wait for inspiration. But the ones who grow are the ones who move even when they don't feel ready. If you let discipline guide your steps, your life will begin to open in ways you never expected. And today I want to show you what that looks like in real, practical terms, so you walk out of here with clarity and strength. Discipline isn't something a few people are born with and the rest are left without. It's a choice you make every single day, often in the quiet moments when nobody is watching. It begins with the decision to stop letting your emotions run the show. Most people wait for the perfect mood, the perfect burst of motivation, or the perfect timing to get serious about their goals. But discipline grows in the moments when you decide to move forward, even when you feel tired, uncertain, or uninspired. It's the simple act of showing up for yourself again and again until the effort becomes part of who you are. Every meaningful change starts with a decision. Not a loud one, not a dramatic one, a steady one, a decision that says, I'm not going to keep living the same way. That decision shapes how you speak to yourself, how you use your time, and how you respond to setbacks. Discipline isn't about being strict or rigid. It's about being intentional. It's the understanding that every small action either builds your future or pulls you away from it. When you choose discipline, you choose alignment. You choose to live in a way that matches your goals, your values, and your potential. Most people think discipline is hard, and sometimes it is. But what they don't realize is that lack of discipline is harder. It's harder to keep starting over. It's harder to carry regret. It's harder to feel your life moving in circles instead of moving forward. Discipline asks for effort now, but it gives you freedom later. Freedom from worry, freedom from chaos, freedom from the stress of not being in control of your own path. When you understand that, the choice becomes clearer. Discipline grows through repetition. Each time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen your belief in yourself. You start trusting your own word. You start feeling that shift inside, the one that says, you're not waiting for life to happen anymore. You're steering it. And that sense of control feeds more discipline. It becomes a cycle that lifts you instead of draining you. When you treat discipline as a daily decision, you stop depending on inspiration and start depending on your character. That's where real change begins. Not in a flash of motivation, but in steady, intentional action that builds a life you can be proud of. Your habits are the quiet architects of your future. Long before the big achievements arrive, long before anyone notices your progress, your habits are already shaping the direction of your life. Goals give you a vision, but habits build the road to reach it. You can dream of becoming stronger, smarter, more focused, more successful, but none of that takes shape until your daily actions start supporting that vision. Every routine you build, every pattern you repeat becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. Most people focus on the outcome. They say they want change, they want growth, they want a different life, but they hold on to the same patterns that kept them stuck. You can't expect a new future with old habits. The truth is simple. Your life rises or falls on what you do consistently, not what you talk about or hope for. When your habits align with your purpose, your direction becomes clear. When they don't, you drift, you lose time, you lose momentum, and slowly you feel your dreams slipping further away. Habits may seem small, but they carry power that builds over time. A habit repeated daily becomes automatic. It becomes your default mode of living. And when your defaults are pushing you toward progress instead of pulling you into procrastination, you start experiencing a shift. You begin to feel more capable, more steady, and more in control. This is why disciplined habits matter. They protect you from relying on emotional highs or perfect conditions. They give you structure when life feels unpredictable. Your habits are also reflections of your priorities. If you choose habits that feed your mind, strengthen your body, support your goals, and protect your peace, then your life naturally moves in a better direction. But if you choose habits that drain you, distract you, or numb you, then your direction becomes scattered. You may not notice the impact right away, but over weeks and months, the results show habits compound. They either build you up or break you down. You don't need to change everything at once. What matters is choosing the habits that match the life you want. A few small actions done consistently can shift your entire path. When you understand this, you stop chasing quick fixes and start focusing on steady growth, because your habits are the strongest force guiding your future long before the results ever appear. Self-control doesn't begin with forcing yourself to be stronger. It begins with shaping the world around you so your focus becomes easier to protect. People often blame themselves for lacking willpower, but willpower is not an endless resource. It rises and falls with your energy, your stress, your emotions, and even the time of day. Relying only on inner strength creates pressure that eventually wears you down. Real discipline grows when you set up an environment that supports the choices you want to make, instead of constantly fighting against the ones you're trying to avoid. Your environment includes everything you let into your life. The noise you tolerate, the distractions you allow, the habits of the people around you, the digital spaces you open throughout the day, and the routines that fill your time. When these elements work against you, staying on track becomes a constant uphill battle. But when you adjust your surroundings, even in small ways, you remove the friction that keeps pulling you off course. It becomes easier to stay consistent, easier to stay clear-headed, and easier to stay committed. Self-control becomes much more manageable when you take away the temptations that drain your focus. If you want to think clearly, you make sure the space where you work is clean and uncluttered. If you want to protect your time, you silence the things that interrupt you. If you want to stay disciplined with your routines, you prepare your environment so the right choice is the easiest choice. You're not trying to fight your impulses all day. You're arranging your path so your impulses don't control you in the first place. The people you spend time with are part of your environment too. Their energy, their habits, and their expectations influence you more than you notice. When you surround yourself with individuals who value growth, responsibility, and focus, it becomes natural to rise to that level. When you're surrounded by chaos or negativity, your discipline becomes harder to maintain. Shaping your environment means choosing what strengthens you and stepping away from what weakens you. When you manage your environment, you lighten the burden on your willpower. You create conditions where discipline feels less like a battle and more like a rhythm. Over time, this rhythm becomes part of you. You stop depending on force and start depending on structure. And when your surroundings support your goals, self-control stops being a struggle and becomes a natural extension of your daily life. Distraction is one of the quietest but most powerful forces that can pull a life off course. It doesn't always show up as something dramatic. Sometimes it arrives as constant noise, small interruptions, endless scrolling, or the habit of giving your attention to whatever feels easy in the moment. Over time, these tiny moments of drifting begin to shape your days, and eventually your days shape your life. Many people think failure is what stops progress, but most of the time it's distraction that steals focus long before failure ever shows up. You don't lose your potential in one big moment. You lose it in 1,000 small ones when your attention slips away from what truly matters. Your mind is naturally drawn toward comfort. It likes what feels good right now. That is why distraction is so effective. It offers quick relief, quick entertainment, quick escape. But each moment spent chasing the easy option pulls you a little further from the path you want to stay on. And the challenge is that distractions rarely look dangerous. They look harmless. They look small. They look like something you'll just check for a minute. But a minute turns into 10 10 turns into an hour, and an hour becomes another day where your goals were pushed aside again. The way you manage distraction determines the strength of your discipline. If you protect your attention, you protect your future. Focus is not something that grows by accident. It grows when you become intentional about where you place your energy. When you choose to give your attention to activities that build you instead of drain you, you start experiencing more clarity. Your thoughts feel cleaner. Your goals feel sharper. You begin to feel more in control of your direction because your mind isn't constantly being pulled away. Every distraction you resist strengthens your discipline a little more. It reminds you that your time is valuable and you have the ability to choose how it is used. You start breaking the habit of letting the world decide what you think about, what you care about, and how you spend your day. Instead, you take responsibility for the quality of your focus. And once you take back that responsibility, progress comes faster than you expect. Distraction may be loud, but your purpose becomes louder when you train your mind to stay committed. When you learn to place your attention on what matters most, you stop losing energy to things that never move your life forward. Little by little, focus becomes your strength. And with that strength, you begin to build a life that reflects clarity, intention, and direction. Consistency is one of the most underestimated forces in personal growth. People often chase intensity. They wait for big moments of motivation, expecting sudden breakthroughs. But real confidence comes from the steady effort you put in day after day, even when the excitement wears off. Every small action you repeat becomes evidence that you can rely on yourself. It shows you that you don't quit when things get uncomfortable. It reminds you that your progress isn't built on feelings, but on commitment. And that quiet, steady commitment slowly strengthens your belief in your own ability to follow through. There will be days when progress feels invisible. You'll show up, put in the work, and feel like nothing changed. Those are the days that build you the most. Anyone can be consistent when everything feels easy. Anyone can move forward when success is obvious. But when you keep going during the slow moments, you develop a different kind of strength. You learn patience. You learn resilience. You learn that growth isn't always loud. It often happens quietly inside your habits, long before it shows up in results. Consistency teaches you to trust the process. It reminds you that your future isn't shaped by one great effort, but by repeated steps in the right direction. You don't need perfection. You don't need the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect start. What you need is the willingness to keep returning to the work, even after setbacks, even after disappointments. When consistency becomes part of your identity, discipline stops feeling like a struggle. It feels natural. It becomes your rhythm. Every time you show up, even in a small way, you reinforce the story you believe about yourself. If you act consistently with your goals, you start seeing yourself as someone who keeps promises. And when that belief takes root, confidence begins to grow without force. You feel grounded. You feel capable. You feel more in control of your direction because you've proven to yourself over and over that you don't need perfect conditions to move forward. Slow progress doesn't mean failure. Slow progress often means you're building something solid, something meaningful, something that won't collapse at the first challenge. Consistency lays the foundation that intensity alone can't provide. And once you understand the power of small daily steps, you stop underestimating the quiet work. You start respecting it because that work is shaping your character, strengthening your discipline, and preparing you for the breakthroughs that only consistency can create. A disciplined life doesn't trap you, it frees you. Many people avoid discipline because they think it will limit them, but the truth is the opposite. When you build discipline into your daily choices, you remove the guesswork, the stress, and the constant internal battles that drain your energy. You gain clarity, you gain direction, you gain a sense of control that makes life feel lighter instead of heavier. Chaos shows up when you live reactively, responding to whatever comes your way. Discipline creates order. It gives your day structure so your mind can relax and focus on what matters instead of juggling endless decisions. Living without discipline often feels like running in circles. You spend time fixing problems you could have prevented. You deal with stress that could have been avoided. You feel pulled in different directions because your actions don't line up with your intentions. But when discipline becomes part of your life, you stop operating in crisis mode. You stop wasting energy on things that don't push you forward. You start building routines that support your peace instead of disrupt it. That peace becomes a foundation you can rely on, even during difficult seasons. Discipline also helps you stay connected to your purpose. It keeps you grounded when distractions or emotions try to pull you away. It reminds you of what you value and what you're working toward. Instead of drifting through your days, you begin moving with intention. That intentional movement creates confidence. You feel more capable because you see your own follow through. You feel more centered because your actions match the person you want to be. This alignment is what creates freedom from stress and confusion. There's a different kind of strength that grows when discipline becomes part of your identity. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop letting temporary feelings dictate long-term decisions. You become someone who pauses, thinks, and chooses with clarity. That ability protects you from unnecessary problems. It protects your time, your energy, your relationships, and your goals. It becomes a shield against chaos. Over time, discipline turns into a natural way of living. You stop seeing it as pressure and start seeing it as protection. It protects your peace, your purpose, and your direction. And when you live with that kind of structure, your life starts moving with a steady rhythm. You feel lighter, stronger, and more grounded because you're no longer pulled by every distraction or emotion. Instead, you're guided by intention, and that intention gives you the freedom to grow into your best self.